CNN's ratings really don't exist. They don't have a single primetime show with 1 million viewers. You know what that's called? A disaster. They don't have a single primetime show, 7 to 10 p.m. weekday, with 1 million viewers. Think about that in a country of 320 million people. So they bring out this guy, Bernstein, of Woodward and Bernstein, and he's a real menace. He's a real reprobate. And he compares everything to Watergate. This is worse than Watergate. This is worse than Watergate. And there he was, all during Russia collusion. They roll him out, and he's lying about Donald Trump, lying about connecting the dots. Remember, this guy was a reporter. It just shows you how corrupt and partisan these reporters are. And it also shows you that when it comes to Woodward and Bernstein, Bernstein was obviously the lighter half. When I speak of lighter, I certainly don't mean weight. I mean intelligence-wise. So let's take a look at this. He's talking about another coup on January 6th. Go.
There has been a coup led by the President of the United States to undermine the Constitution and possibly and likely a criminal conspiracy as well. And all of these things that are laid out in the report are...
Okay. He's talking about the Democrat Party majority report out of the Senate Judiciary Committee. The minority put out a report as well. You know, ladies and gentlemen, there is a criminal investigation, and there has been on January 6th. Over 600 American citizens have been charged with such heinous crimes as trespassing. Now, some people have been tried for assault, very few, and, doing damage to the Capitol building. I make no excuses for that. But the vast majority of those 630 or so people did nothing. And I happen to know several who were on the grounds of the Capitol building and charged with trespassing, and were told, if you don't plead guilty, we're going to charge you with a felony and drag you through the entire court system. These are average people. They don't have $1 million for legal representation. Several of them have been put in solitary confinement for a period of 6 to 8 weeks. They've talked about abuses that have taken place, and notice the media could give a damn. Matter of fact, whenever I talk about this, I am attacked by Soros front groups like Media Matters and so forth. Well, they can attack me all they want. The fact of the matter is, I don't like the way these people are being treated in the least. I mean, Black Lives Matter and Antifa beating the hell out of people, attacking cops, killing some people, looting, arson, all kinds of criminality taking place. And you don't see them being rounded up, SWAT teams going into their homes, dragging them out in the middle of the night. You don't see these kinds of cases. As a matter of fact, the FBI said that what they're doing here is the biggest investigation in the history of the FBI. The biggest investigation in the history of the FBI, not 9/11, not the summer that our cities were burning. This is the biggest investigation. And you know how many people have been charged with arms offenses in Washington, D.C., breaking into that building? Not one. Not one, because not one of them had a weapon. Not one. Again, I'm not making excuses, but to call this an insurrection is a joke. You know who they're not investigating in this great January 6th investigation? Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi was offered, I was told, 20,000 National Guardsmen by the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and turned a deaf ear to it. You know who told me that? The Chief of Staff to the Secretary of Defense, Kash Patel. He said she didn't ask for any, she didn't want any. Well, why is that? And what exactly were Nancy Pelosi's orders? And since this rogue committee that she set up, and you remember Kevin McCarthy wanted certain members of his party on the committee, and she rejected every one of them. Instead, you get never-Trumpers like Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. Just remember, they're not going to subpoena any of Nancy Pelosi's emails, her phone calls, her texts. They're not going to depose her, and yet she had a significant role in failing to protect the Capitol building. What did Nancy Pelosi know, and when did she know? We're never going to know. So this is the kind of committee investigation going on. But a coup? A coup. No, Russia collusion was the coup. No, the Hillary Clinton campaign in the DNC laundering money through Perkins Coie law firm, coming up with that phony dossier, triggering a criminal investigation by Robert Mueller. The FBI lying to the FISA court on more than one occasion so it could use the Patriot Act against the Trump campaign. I would say that would be coup. No, I would say the former head of the FBI, Comey, and his conspiracies, and his efforts to undermine the president, and McCabe talking about the 25th Amendment. I would say that was an attempt at a coup. And the intelligence agencies leaking false information against Donald Trump. I would say that was a coup. And of course, the Democrat Party using our tax dollars in the House of Representatives. One investigation after the other. The Intelligence Committee using its authority in violation of its responsibilities to investigate a president of the United States, a domestic matter. I would say that was a coup effort. And so let's be clear about coups and who was leading them. Go.
Uncontrovertible evidence of the President of the United States trying to overwhelm constitutional responsibility, to subvert and evade the laws of the United States.
What in the hell is this slob talking about? Overwhelming, uncontrovertible evidence that the President of the United States is trying to contravene the Constitution. What does he mean by that? What is he talking about? Oh, the fact that some Republicans wanted to raise questions about the electors? Well, that happens almost every election cycle, and the Democrats lead the charge. They did it in 2016. They were even challenging the electors coming out of Alabama. Clearly, Trump won Alabama, and the Republican electors were selected. That wasn't even a controversy. That wasn't even a question. And there were serious questions about the elections, particularly in Pennsylvania, particularly federal constitutional questions, two of which were brought to the United States Supreme Court, and apparently 2 to 3 justices wanted to take it up, but they couldn't get a fourth. One of them involving the section of the federal Constitution that says the state legislature, in the case of Pennsylvania, the Republican state legislature, sets the election laws for the selection of the electors. Well, that was completely violated by the governor of Pennsylvania, a radical Democrat, and the elected Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, 7 members, 5 of whom were Democrats, 5 of whom were elected by the teachers union. And they reversed and changed state election law. The only way you can change state election law in Pennsylvania, it's extremely difficult, is not by statute. It's by constitutional amendment. And the constitutional amendment, get this, in Pennsylvania, one of the oldest state constitutions in the country, requires 2 votes by the state legislature, with 2/3 of the state legislature supporting an amendment, and a vote by the public. Well, they didn't have that in Pennsylvania. Instead, you had 5 Democrats on the elected Supreme Court of Pennsylvania deciding no signature requirements, deciding that they were going to extend the voting date and the counting on the voting date, and aspects like that that the state legislature never approved. No, that's a serious matter. And so that challenge was a legitimate challenge. But nonetheless, I mean, these matters come before Congress. The electors come before Congress. The vote is given to the Archivist of the United States. He sends them over to a joint hearing, a joint meeting of Congress, and people object. And they do that all the time. So that's not a coup. And if the President of the United States, Donald Trump, had participated in a coup, wouldn't he be charged by now? You mean the man who said, Nancy, if you need 20,000 National Guardsmen to protect the Capitol building, let me go. That guy was in charge of the coup. The guy was in charge of the coup, said, come on, let's rush the Capitol building, but make sure you don't have any weapons. That man was in charge of the coup. Such lies. There was no insurrection. There was no coup except by the Democrats and the media trying to get rid of Trump over and over and over again. Go.
And the Constitution of the United States. But I think we also need to look at something. We are looking at an ongoing cover-up led by the Republican Party to keep the people of the United States from knowing what the hell happened in these terrible moments in which the President of the United States, for the first time in our history, tried to subvert a legal and free election, and now we are heading toward the next election.
Trump never tried to subvert a legal and free election. He's raised questions about them. States have been very concerned about it. Let me circle back a little here. After Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016, the Democrats vowed it would never happen again. So did big tech. Donald Trump went over the heads of the media, and he used Twitter. He had over 80 million followers. He used Twitter to communicate with the American people. Do you notice he's been banned from Twitter for life? Why do you think he's banned from Twitter for life? The Ayatollah in Iran's not banned for life. The Taliban's not banned. The former president of the United States, why? because they don't want him communicating with the American people. He didn't say anything that should result in him being banned for life. He's the former president of the United States. So he's banned from Twitter, which is the power he had to communicate directly with the American people to get around reprobates like this. That's number one. Number two, in terms of the President of the United States leading an insurrection, it's a complete lie. He told people to go to the Capitol building, to peacefully go to the Capitol building. About a month ago, the FBI on a Friday evening, a statement was released, or a document was released that went to the media anonymously. And what happened? They said they found no plot or plan on January 6th. No plot or plan on January 6th. And nobody's been charged with a plot or plan on January 6th to overthrow the government. Now, it's interesting. Black Lives Matter, in their mission statement, they're Marxists, they have as one of their objectives to overthrow the United States government. That's insurrection. That's insurrection. Antifa is a Marxist anarchist organization. They seek to overthrow the United States government. That's an insurrection, too. But January 6th was not a plot to overthrow the United States government. Go ahead.
Next election in which these same forces are planning to subvert the election. So we are in
a cover-up. There's a cover-up of January 6th. Has there not been more talk about January 6th than anything else? Is the Nancy Pelosi little Politburo she pulled together being prevented from investigating whatever they want? Well, some of the people who they subpoena say, I'm not coming, because they know this is a witch hunt, AKA a Nancy Pelosi hunt, that this entire committee is completely lopsided, and she made sure it would be lopsided. So there's a cover-up. Cover-up of what? It's not a cover-up of anything. The cover-up is of the Russia collusion that went on for 2-3 years, $40 million criminal investigation, and so forth. Go.
In a constitutional crisis.
You have Chairman Durbin saying we were a half step away from
We're in it.
You think we're in it?
We're in it because look toward the next election. Right. Look at what has happened already and look at the country itself. The most significant thing, perhaps, is not just the coup attempt and the coup by the President of the United States and the Republican Party going along with it, but almost half of the adult voters.
All right, enough of this slop.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to LevinTV.com and subscribe now.